I mean, like, for example, are you ever going to have a Palestinian be prime minister, citizen of Israel be prime minister of Israel? It'd be very difficult to imagine that, especially under a Jewish state. When your national anthem is Hatikva and it's about longing for the Jewish homeland, how is a Palestinian citizen of Israel who was dispossessed for that state supposed to relate to it? And there is a whole, I'm sure, as you know, like this whole discourse around creating what they call a state of citizens, or maybe even turning Israel itself into a binational state, which I think is interesting to look at.
Right.
And also, I mean, like, we even talk about equal rights. Well, I mean, you know, you have all sorts of, like, I think, like, with the exception of, like, those, I think, 5 towns in the Negev, like, there hasn't been a single Palestinian village or municipality in Israel established since the state was founded. You have, you know, the nation state law, which says that only Jews have self-determination. You've got that law that says that a Palestinian can't marry, you know, if a Palestinian in Israel marries a Palestinian from the West Bank, they can't move there. So, I mean, unfortunately, you can't really say there's equality even in the law. You know, and you also have, like, the admissions committee law.
Well, I think that, like, the nation state law does create it does create a different status, and that, you know, you do have Jewish symbolism in the state, but not all of that. And the nation state law, you know, that's something that could be repealed and you could still have a Jewish state. I don't know if all of these are really a difference in rights rather than it's so much how, like, what a Jewish state means and how that affects populations living on land that aren't Jewish. And I think there is a strong case to be made that it's hard for a non-Jew to feel to be at equal status if they're living in a state that is Jewish. But does that really come down to rights? Like, the fact that we haven't had a Palestinian prime minister, and it's hard to imagine what that looks like, doesn't mean it can never happen or it's not allowed to happen. You know, the United States is 250 plus years old. We haven't had a woman president. We just had our first black president, and he was only half black. But and 100 years ago, if you said, you know, one day we'll have a black president or a woman president, people would think you're crazy, right? So I think that given enough time of healing and transforming, we certainly could have a situation where you do have a Jewish state that is equal and just. But I do agree that as long as it has a Jewish nature, there could be populations that don't quite feel the same or as much a part of society as Jews.